Hello again, and welcome back to the channel, everyone. I appreciate, as always, anybody tuning in. I just wanted to give a little, sorry, I gotta put my sunglasses on here. I wanted to give a little update, not on my gardens, but me and some friends of mine went up to, this past Saturday, went up to the first annual Scrubfest. It was held at Scrubland Farms in Fort McCoy, Florida, and got to listen to a couple of seminars by David the Good, which was good, no pun intended, and got to hear a seminar from, I can't remember the guy's name, but someone from the University of Florida Agricultural Extension Office, which was also good. And a lot of the stuff they talked about, I already knew because I've been doing this for a little while. I've been following David the Good for a little while and read most of his books and that sort of stuff. But there were some takeaways that I mentally noted. For example, one of the things that I plan on doing in the future, as far as they talked about blueberries, growing blueberries in Florida, and one of the things they said was not to get southern highbush variety, but to get rabbit eye variety, because any of the wild blueberries that you may come across in the forests around here are going to be a relative of the rabbit eye. And so that is something that I'm going to have to do in the future. A couple of the native blueberries that they mentioned were sparkleberry and deerberry, which I've never come across those. I don't think I have any of those growing where I live, but they may be growing more so up in North Florida, probably up where Sam, the guy who owns Scrubland Farms, Sam Singleton, he probably up in that area would have some in the forests around there. But yeah, the rabbit eye are just, apparently what I heard is rabbit eye are better adapted to this area, and they last a lot longer. They live a lot longer. So I definitely be looking for that, because the blueberries that I have are all southern highbush variety. I've got a couple called Sunshine Blue. I had one called Arcadia, but it looks like it died. And then I have either an emerald or a jewel. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. But those are all southern highbush varieties, which we've gotten berries off of them, but they just always seem to struggle. And I'm wondering if it's because southern highbush varieties are very needy. They need a lot of water. They need a lot of fertilizer, and so they're just harder to maintain. But the rabbit eye varieties are, I'm hoping, a little bit more sturdy in this area. So I'm going to be looking out for those. There are multiple rabbit eye varieties. I know there's a website, a company up in the Panhandle of Florida called Just Fruits and Exotics. They have a lot of selections in fruit trees, shrubs, that sort of thing. So if you are in the Florida, and they say what states they can and can't ship to, because there are certain laws that they can't ship to. I think a lot of stuff they can't ship to California and stuff like that, of course. But if you are in I would say the Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama area, definitely check into check into Scrubland Farms. He also ships, and he's got a lot of good things. Plus, he's a good guy, and he's got a really cool setup. But check into Just Fruits and Exotics. They have a lot of fruits that you wouldn't find at a typical nursery. So it's justfruitsandexotics.com. They do ship. Obviously, it's going to cost more to ship it than it is to go to their nursery. But like for me, it would be about a 4 or 5 hour drive to get to their nursery. So with gas the way it is nowadays, you might as well just have them shipped. Excuse me. So yeah, so I'm going to be looking into, they have several rabbit eye varieties. I'm going to be looking into that in the near future. And I'll be honest, more than likely I'm just going to pull out my high bush varieties that I already have and put in rabbit eyes. Another thing was they talked a bit about Everglades tomatoes, and I realized something that I was doing wrong with Everglades tomatoes, and David the Good mentioned something about they like to sprawl. I've always tried to tie mine up or get them trained up a trellis, which I suppose you can do, but he said that they like to sprawl because they will, like Seminole pumpkins, root along the ground as they go, and which helps in Florida because we have a whole bunch of pests here. We have bugs that love to eat your plants. So when you have a plant that likes to root along the vine, not just at the main root, but as it grows, where it's touching the ground, it'll send more roots down. That tends to help because, for example, with Seminole pumpkins, if a bug of whatever variety gets to the vine near the main root, the rest of the vine can still survive because it's rooting as it goes along. And I know I've talked about that on the channel. If you've ever listened to, watched, read David the Good, he talks about that too. So apparently, and I didn't know this, apparently Everglades tomatoes do the same thing. So I have one Everglades tomato that was growing and has been doing okay. I planted in the shade because I heard also they like to be in the shade. So when I got back, it was yesterday, when I didn't get back yesterday, it was Saturday was the event. Yesterday when I went out and worked, I took the trellis down and just let the tomato rest on the ground so it will start to sprawl like it wants to, and hopefully that will work out better and I can actually get some Everglades tomatoes. I know people have grown them up a trellis, so it's possible, but apparently they prefer to sprawl on the ground. That's probably what they do in the wild because nothing goes out and stakes them up in the wild unless they climb up something themselves. So that's what I'm going to do with the Everglades tomatoes, and we'll see. Like I said, I only have one vine, so we'll see what it does. Another thing, they talked about figs, growing figs here, and I've mentioned on my channel that my fig trees just don't want to fruit. Well, I talked to Sam Singleton, and he said that what he does with his is when you put a fig in, it's a little counterintuitive because figs are Mediterranean in origin, so they tend to be in more of an arid climate. But when you first put a fig in, he said you need to water it heavily until it gets established. And he said that you need to mulch them very well because the fungus buildup, like the mushroom buildup in the mulch, helps fertilize the tree. So plus he talked about pinching it back some, which I've heard about pinching with fig trees. I haven't really done it heavily. So I'm going to try that. And then the extension, the guy from the UF Extension office said that there are two types of varieties as far as fruit is concerned with figs. And that is, I think he called it open-ended and closed-ended. So basically a fig, it technically is not really a fruit, it's a flower. It's like an inverted flower. So there's a variety that, and you can see on the bottom of a fig, there's like a little circle almost. And he said the open-ended varieties, that circle stays open and then on the closed-ended varieties, it closes up as it's growing. And he recommended getting the closed-ended for Florida because we have so many bugs. And he said that the open-ended varieties tend to allow bugs to get inside the figs, and they'll eat at it and cause it to rot, and you won't get any fruit. So he said stick with your closed-ended varieties. I know I'm assuming that the brown turkey, which is one of my trees, is a closed-ended variety because that is one of the ones I've heard recommended for Florida. So I'm doing all those things. I'll be honest, I have another small fig tree. I completely forgot what variety it is. I didn't label it, so I completely forgot. So we'll find out as it grows. But I'm doing what Sam recommended, and I talked to David, and he said that you could sprinkle some ash underneath the tree. So what I did was I sprinkled a little bit of ash, and then which if you're using ash is very good for gardens. It raises the pH of the soil, and it contains potassium and calcium and stuff like that. So it's good for your plants, but the thing with ash is you've got to be careful not to overdo it. It's very, very potent. Less is more when it comes to ashes. So don't get like a big bucket full and just dump it all underneath one tree or a few vegetables or something like that. You'll kill them. I mean, you'll kill them. The tree might survive, but the vegetables, you'll kill them. But sprinkle a little bit, and then see what happens. If you still need to do it some more, sprinkle a little bit more. Always do small and work your way up. So I sprinkled a little bit underneath the trees, and then I mulched underneath. Now at the time I didn't have any mulch, but I just got another delivery, so I used what I had. I just used leaves and moss and sticks and stuff, debris that was around my yard to mulch the trees. So, and then I watered them really well. So we'll see what happens with that. The figs are going to be going dormant soon anyway, so I'm not really going to do any pinching right now because they're about to drop all their leaves. So, and then there was one more thing that I was thinking that they talked about, and I don't remember what it was now. They talked about if you want to grow nut trees. Now, you have to understand, Fort McCoy, I'm in Zone 9B. Fort McCoy, I believe, is in Zone 9A. I think it's 9A. They get it. Fort McCoy is a little bit like northwest of Ocala, and they get colder temperatures there than we do here where I am. I'm more in the dead center of Florida. Fort McCoy is kind of in it's toward the very north end of what's considered Central Florida, because Ocala is still considered Central Florida, and it's, like I said, a little bit northwest of Ocala. So they were now I've lost where I was going with this, but nuts. They were growing. They were recommending which nuts. David talked about chestnuts and certain varieties of hawthorns grow really well here. Pecans grow really well here. I've read that walnuts can grow here depending on the variety. But I'm interested in, not far from where I live, there is a macadamia nut farm. And macadamia nuts are my all-time favorite nuts. I would love to get some macadamia nut trees and have my own source of macadamia nuts. But that's something for the future. But they talked a lot about, what trees are good for a food forest and how to kind of arrange things. And but yeah, and so Sam was selling plants there as well, and I bought a couple of blackberries, and because my last blackberries just were not in good shape when I bought them, they ended up dying. These look much, much better. I need to get them in the ground and then actually try to bury them in so it'll create the new canes. But So yeah, I got a couple blackberries. I finally got my hands on a soap nut tree. Sam had soap nut trees. I've been wanting to get one for a long time, and I finally got one. So I had to take advantage of that. If you don't know what a soap nut is, look it up. But essentially, they're not edible nuts, but you can take the nuts and use them as laundry detergent. There's like a chemical or something in the nuts that when you put them in water and wash things with them, it actually cleans like your clothes. That's what they're mainly used for, is laundry. They actually sell bags that you can put the soap nuts in, put them in your laundry, and when it washes, the chemicals in the nuts actually clean your clothes. And I mean, what better way to, if there's ever a case where you can't get any kind of detergent to clean your clothes. Man, my eyes, maybe it's just the lighting. I thought I had some bad red eye. But if you ever need something to clean your clothes and you can't get any sort of detergent, if you have soap nuts, you're good to go. So finally got a soap nut tree, and I bought a Rachel Goodman variety of mulberry. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with having too many mulberries. Mulberries are delicious, and they grow like weeds here, and they're extremely hardy. And so if you're just establishing a food forest, or you just want to plant a fruit tree, you just want to, I don't know what I want to plant. I don't know if I want to do this food forest thing. I just want to plant a fruit tree and see what happens. Mulberries are probably, like, I've heard mulberry, loquat, and persimmon. Well, persimmon, I think persimmon's one of those, like, you either love or hate it. I tried planting a persimmon. It died. I've pulled it out. But loquats and mulberries are almost impossible to kill in Florida. So now loquats can be very tart. Now, I like the flavor, but if you don't really like tart things, then I wouldn't recommend a loquat unless you're planning on making like preserves with it. But mulberries are very sweet. I mean, they taste a lot like blackberries, so they're very sweet. The trees are, like I said, very hardy, grow prolifically, and when they set berries, you'll have pounds of berries. So definitely, if I had to single out one tree for someone who's never planted a fruit tree in Florida, I would say plant a mulberry, because they're easy to maintain. You'll get quick return on your investment with that. So it was a great time. Got to meet David the Good, talked to him a bit. Got to meet Sam Singleton after I've chatted with him online and bought things from him and things like that. So it was really cool. Got to meet some cool people, and we had a great time. I really hope that Sam does it again in the future. And I don't know if Sam watches my channel. I know Dave has subscribed or has watched my channel. I don't know if Sam does, but to both of them, thank you so much for doing that. It was a great event, and I look forward to, if Sam does it again in the future, I will certainly be there. But anyways, those are just, I figured I'd share the takeaways that I got from the last thing, and it just hit me. If you're planning on or want to plant citrus, one of the things that actually one of my friends who went with me said this, and then the guy from the extension office said this: citrus greening is killing the citrus industry, especially here in Florida, but it's happening worldwide. One of the things that they said, though, is it's partly how we plant citrus. Now, you go out to citrus groves and you'll see they're all out in the wide open, full sun. That will produce more fruit, but citrus does not have to be in full sun. I have a key lime in the front of my house that gets barely any sun, and I just harvested. It's still young. You've seen it in videos, but I just harvested a lime off of it. It's got one more on there that's still growing, and it's probably doubled in size since I put it in the ground. So citrus does not need full sun to grow. You might get more yield if it's in full sun, but you don't have to have full sun to get yield. In the back of my property, in kind of the scrub, there's like 3 or 4 sour orange trees back there, completely in the shade. They might get an hour of sun per day, maybe, but they're completely in the shade. But what they're surrounded by is an overstory of trees, particularly oak trees. They make oranges year after year after year. They don't look diseased in any way. They continue to produce, continue to grow, and they look great. Back further, not on my land, but on our family's land, there's an enormous wild tangerine tree, and the fruit is tiny, it's pretty sour, it's full of seeds, but it is edible. You could make some good juice out of it. But it's enormous, it looks extremely healthy, and every year it is absolutely loaded with tangerines. It is underneath an overstory of oak trees and whatever else is growing in there. That's what they said makes it to where the extension, the guy from the extension office said that basically how you can be carrying, our bodies constantly have bacteria and viruses in them, but that doesn't mean that we're sick. It just, they're in there, and usually our bodies can fight them off. They won't make us sick. It's just part of life. He said the same thing happens with the citrus greening. Citrus greening is caused by a bacteria that's carried by a very, very, very tiny bug who bites the tree and then infects it. Kind of like when mosquitoes bite, they can infect you with like places in like Africa and third world countries deal with malaria. The mosquito is not intentionally giving you malaria, it's just carrying it. When it bites you, it gets into your body. What he said was, what they found is citrus that is grown in the shade underneath a canopy of trees, even if it has the bacteria, the greening bacteria in it, it doesn't tend to become sick with it. When you put it out in full sun, like we do in our orange groves, is when it tends to become sick, and pretty much that's a death sentence. So he said that growing citrus in an overstory of trees is the best way to do it. So yeah, those are the takeaways that I have and some of the things that I bought there. I just thought like maybe I could share that so that, you know, if you were thinking about doing some of these things, you can have better knowledge on how to do it. Yeah, great time if you are in the Florida area or the southern Georgia area, whatever, because there were people there from Miami, there were people there from Georgia, there were probably about 150 people there, which was crazy for the very first time this happened. But I hope Sam does it again. If he does do it again and you do see the advertisement for it, hop on it, get you a ticket and come out. It was a great time, some cool vendors, and get to buy some plants from Sam and get to listen to some really good seminars. It was a great time. So thanks for watching. Just wanted to pass on the knowledge that I gleaned from it, and I appreciate anyone who watches the channel, subscribes to the channel. As always, I know I say that every time, but I just like to reiterate that I really, really do appreciate you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all soon. Take care.